teacher, a healer, and I am studying to be a mental health therapist in an effort to guide really highly achieving intuitives um, into their greatest and highest self, right? Um, the reason that I am posting this as a Mami Wata priestess is because this morning I had a spiritual download while I was in the shower, which happens to a lot of you, I'm sure. Anytime that you are near water or you're in the shower and you're just in a peaceful place and can let things go and perhaps wash away, right? You get some clarity and some downloads in those few minutes to yourself. So the best ideas sometimes come in the shower. In the shower, um, I had a recollection of a time period in my life in the not so recent past that I was so fearful of my power. I was so fearful of my intuitive gifts. I was so fearful um, of the way that I was gifted and created as a woman, right? A person who can dream things, who can feel things, who can heal things, who can also make things happen, through her thoughts. It's a very, very powerful being to be on earth when you are born into such an oppressive world, right? And so very young, I realized that women, and as I grew and I started to study, women across the world were being oppressed, right? And a lot of the times at the hands of their own family for whatever reason, oppressed within their own relationships and marriages, learned so much about sex trafficking and child marriage and genital mutilation in both males and females in order to suppress sexuality. All of those things were so important to me at such a young age. And of course, I didn't know why. But that also grew in me this fear around the society that I was living in, because it was very, very clear that being a woman was dangerous. And then also being a brown woman was extremely dangerous. And being a person with spiritual gifts was extremely dangerous, right? And so all the propaganda around witches and warlocks and intuitive gifts and seeing ghosts and voodoo and all of these things that just created terror, within me. And at the same time, I would be going to sweat lodge ceremonies, right? Learning the ways of the ancestors, learning ways of healing, learning about herbs, gathering friends around me who knew about natural healings, right? So I'm naturally growing as a healer in all of these ways, while at the same time being terrified, of being a witch that is burned at the stake, uh, being the Marie Laveau, of Missouri. I'm from Missouri, as you can see. Um, all of those things terrified me, and I would express that to my friends who were also had powerful gifts. If you've been reading my blogs from the beginning, one of my very first entries is all of my friends are psychic, right? So I've never felt alone in this journey, and also not alone in these fears of being a natural healer. And a lot of my friends and colleagues, mostly my friends, are highly, highly educated, right? They go to Stanford, they go to Harvard, they are physicians and change makers and policy makers. Like these are my friends, and we're all having these very deep, immense dreams, and we're all throwing tarot cards, and and all of this is undercover. Right? All of this is all, undercover, because there is still this fear of the patriarchy finding out that we're using these natural gifts to align ourselves and to get into deep understanding of our ancestry, and how we're supposed to show up, in the world to do the very best work that we can to heal our communities. And so it's not a surprise that we would be so deeply traumatized by what has just happened, right? Because we know that the patriarchy is a place that has killed witches. Those witches are women, right? They're me, they're you. If you identify with having a male body and you are a male energy in this world, right? Then they have killed the wizards and the soothsayers, the prophets, the Malcolm X's, the Marcus Garveys, right? The those that really stood for justice in our lineages. We have seen them be dramatically killed. That's warfare, right? That's a type of guerrilla warfare. And so, if you too are a man who has spiritual gifts, who understands herbs, all of these different things, those are still things that you most likely would have to repress, right? Because anything that comes from the divine and is not, a straight shooting, I just go to church and I pay my tithes and I go home and I just go to work every single day and I'm abiding by these rules as a man, right? You could be annihilated. And so it's important to recognize this trauma as it continues to come up. And as a woman who has practiced Voodoo for the past 20 years as a way to heal her community, as a way to connect folks to their spiritual birthright, their inner power, this is a time that I am so clear that number one, we have worked hella fucking hard. Generation after generation after generation on the streets, doing everything that we can to plead for our humanity. This is a new generation. No one needs to plead with another human for their humanity, right? You don't need to have to be in the streets, um, giving all of your energy and exhausting all of your resources internally, right? In order to change the minds of others. And what makes this time so pivotal for those of us who are empaths and who are healers and who are stepping in to our truth and loudly and boldly is that as they change these rules around what women can and can't do with their bodies, they will be turning towards natural healers. Right? They will be turning towards the old ways in order to heal their bodies and in order to understand their reproductive systems, in order to become more relational with those that they are actually making love with because they'll understand the energy that they're exchanging. There'll be more folks who are looking for natural ways to heal their bodies and their minds and their spirits. The way that 2020 took so many people into an enlightenment of their own mental health, and them understanding that the thoughts that they have created the things, right? That was the great awakening of 2020 because you got to sit there and say, now, what have I created here? What have I bought into? Right. And so everyone started having these more illuminated thoughts about themselves and their destiny because they got time to sit and reflect and know who they were on the inside. And then as we journeyed, out and back outside, right? A lot of those lessons that we learned, we just couldn't forget. And so now we have to do things different. And so this election is still toppling, right? The patriarchy. Because now we see so clearly how much fear there is around the woman, how much fear there is around the person who can give and create life. Donald Trump came from a woman, right? Women are the ones who create life, right? And so there must be an enormous amount of fear for one for a being in this world that can literally create a penis inside of her effortlessly, right? All she had to do was lay there and receive, right, the sperm. And then she creates a whole entire person. That person comes out and lives life. That is so enormously powerful. And regardless if you're a man or a woman, you still have that energy of creation within your own womb, right? So bringing this all the way back to mindfulness, bringing this all the way back to chakra systems, bringing this all the way back to energy, we all have the energy of creation, right? And so this patriarchy is so afraid of this creation, and it's so afraid of the freedom, right? That it really means to say, this person that can create life can also run a country, right? Like, oh, it's too emotional. Well, maybe those feelings and those emotions come from a place of truth, right? And so coming from that logical mind into this kind of heart space of being led by a woman, it must be scary, right? And so as all of these things happen, you will begin to see things crumble regardless, right? This is kind of the last hurrah. This is the last, like, please, let's kill the baby. We still here. We still here. You've been trying to annihilate the witches and the powerful um, beings for so long, and I'm evidence, right? I'm evidence that we're still here, even when we're doubting, even if we're scared, even when we are trying to do it all underground. I I am the prayer of my ancestors, the great prophetesses, the great healers, the great lovers, the great Gaia, nature. She's still here. She's still going strong. Does not matter who you vote for or what happens, they're still going to turn back to the old ways of the ancestors, the old ways of healing, the ways of being whole, the ways that we can both be logical, we can be the yin and we can be the yang, right? We can be the logical and we can be the emotional. It must be terrifying, right? Because regardless, it's going to collapse because we still here. Right? We are undeniably so powerful. So I'm going to piggyback on what I said from the very first day. Do not disassociate. Take care of your power, right? Do not let this unanchor you. Be deeply, deeply rooted in the power of change, of healing, of moving forward, of being your absolute best in this world, right? Do not spend your effort and time thinking that you have to do more. The revolution is in the feminine. And the feminine is about receiving. It is about feeling. This is the new age, right? We are now in the age of Aquarius. We have moved past this grunts and the hardness and it has to be this certain way. We are now in the age of the feminine, right? And so allow Babylon to fall, right? Allow all of the chaos that you see and notice the ways that you can continue to heal and uplift your own power. Do the work that you are supposed to be doing in the world with the most ease, the most confidence, the most love that you ever had, because you're standing here as a grandson or a granddaughter of some of the most powerful and ancient beings on the planet. Your melanin tells you that, right? Your melanin tells you that. Okay. So, no worries. This was my download, right? You were born for a time such as this. Have no doubt. You were born for a time such as this. It may seem so chaotic, but it's because you are the intuitive. You are the most powerful. You are the one that is meant to be here when this shit hits the fan because you have a purpose. right? And now there's no reason to fear. They've been trying to kill us for years, and yet we are still here, right? So take it easy. See what comes. See what this feminine wave, right, of love, receiving joy, right, being strategic about our joy really, really, really means. Seeing what creation actually means, just laying back and seeing what grows, right? When you plant a seed and just allow it to be, water it and be devoted to it, let's see what this feminine energy grows, right? Have a good one.